There's a specific kind of silence that settles over a house when something's been said that can't be unsaid. It's not loud or sharp, not the aftermath of a slammed door or a shouted accusation. No, it's quieter, more surgical. It cuts without bleeding. That silence lived in our bedroom now, like a ghost that refused to leave. Rachel had been off. Not in the obvious way. No sudden absences, no late-night meetings, no mysterious perfume lingering in the air. Just quieter, less present. Our conversations became transactional. Groceries, bills, whose turn it was to pick up dry cleaning. We still had sex, occasionally, but it felt like a favor, not like before. Not like when I used to devour her with my eyes the moment she stepped out of the shower. We'd been married for 8 years. The first 3 were fire and laughter. The next 2 were hard, jobs, miscarriages, family deaths. And the last 3? I guess they were maintenance. Loving her felt like brushing my teeth. Necessary. Automatic. But something had shifted. The first crack appeared the night I came home early from work, keys jingling in my hand as I opened the door. The sound of her voice floated from the kitchen. It was soft, hushed, but not because she didn't want to be heard. It was intimate. Too intimate. I just feel like he doesn't make me feel desired anymore. I stopped. My foot hovered mid-step on the hallway rug as her words curled around me like smoke. I peeked around the corner. She was standing at the kitchen island, phone on speaker, wine glass half full. Her hair was pulled up, loose strands falling around her neck. And then I heard the reply. "I understand," came Olivia's voice, smooth as warm honey. Rachel smiled softly. Not the smile she gave me when I brought her flowers or remembered to preheat the oven. This one was small, secretive. It lived in her eyes more than her lips. I backed away like a thief, like I had caught them naked in conversation. Now let me be clear, Olivia wasn't some stranger. She was Rachel's best friend since college. They were sorority sisters, lived together for a year, and had the kind of friendship that included matching tattoos and inside jokes I'd never be part of. Olivia knew everything. Every argument Rachel and I ever had. Every reconciliation. Even the nights Rachel had once whispered to me, flushed and breathless, that no one had ever made her come that hard before. I had no doubt Olivia had heard about those nights too, the highs and the lows. I always thought it was harmless. I even liked Olivia. She was smart, sharp, sarcastic in that charming New York way that made you feel stupid and turned on all at once. Tall, with long dark hair and a voice that made you lean in without realizing it. The kind of woman who could wear black jeans and a t-shirt and still make a man drop his fork at dinner. But something about that conversation lodged itself in my chest and refused to move. The next few days, I caught myself looking for signs. Did Rachel pause before answering my texts? Did she hug me with one arm instead of 2? Was our sex, when it happened, perfunctory, like a checklist? It didn't help that Olivia started popping up more often. Late-night texts to Rachel that made her laugh quietly into her phone, the screen angled just slightly away from me. Saturday coffee dates that ran too long. Conversations that stopped when I walked into the room. I told myself it was just girl stuff. Hormones. Venting. Then came the night I heard Olivia's voice again. It was a Wednesday. Rain tapped gently against the windows, and Rachel was in the bathtub, her usual escape after work. I passed the bathroom door on my way to the bedroom when I heard the faint buzz of her phone, left on the sink counter. The screen lit up, Olivia. I hesitated, then kept walking. I didn't want to be that guy. But as I changed into sweatpants and flicked on the TV, the conversation reached my ears again, this time from the echo under the bathroom door. Not the words, just the tone. Soft. Encouraging. Like a therapist. Or worse, like a lover warming the space between the lines. "I just feel like he's comfortable now," Rachel said. "Like sex is a routine. Like I'm oatmeal, and he's spooning me out of habit." My face burned. Olivia's voice was low, intimate. "You deserve to feel wanted, Rach." "I used to feel that with him," Rachel replied. "Like I was the only woman in the world." "You're still that woman," Olivia said. "He just stopped seeing you that way." I stood there, outside the door, heartbeat in my ears. I had no right to feel jealous, not of Olivia. She was her best friend, nothing more. But that night, when I lay beside Rachel in bed, her back turned, her breathing slow and even, I couldn't stop thinking about that tone. The way Olivia spoke to her. Like Rachel's pain was sacred. Like she wanted to hold it, cradle it. maybe even fix it. I closed my eyes, willing myself to sleep. Instead, I pictured them, Olivia leaning in, brushing a strand of hair from Rachel's cheek, their fingers touching accidentally, then not so accidentally. A kiss that started as comfort and became something else entirely. I hated the way it made me feel. Not just angry, not just hurt, turned on. The thought of Rachel, my wife, being kissed by someone else should have made me sick. But imagining her moaning softly under Olivia's touch, whispering secrets she never told me, filled my gut with something far more dangerous than rage. Jealousy and arousal. An addictive cocktail. I started watching them differently. The way Rachel would touch Olivia's arm when they laughed. The long hugs. The knowing glances. Was I crazy? Was I seeing things that weren't there? Or had Olivia been inside our marriage longer than I realized? The next time Rachel left her phone unattended, I picked it up. Just for a second. Just to look. Their texts were mostly innocent. Memes. Inside jokes. Comments about coworkers. But one message stood out, from a week ago, during a night when Rachel and I had argued about something stupid. Olivia, you shouldn't have to beg someone to make you feel sexy. No response from Rachel. But I didn't need one. She didn't have to beg. And maybe that was the problem. That night, I made love to my wife with more intensity than I had in months. I kissed her neck. I whispered filthy things into her ear. I held her like I was afraid she might vanish. And for a moment, it worked. She clutched me back, moaned like she used to, even smiled after. But afterward, as I lay there, catching my breath, I realized she hadn't looked me in the eye once. She had kept them closed the whole time, like she was thinking of someone else. Or maybe, waiting for someone else to take my place. It was a Tuesday night, late summer. The kind of sticky, sleepless heat that made your clothes cling and your skin ache for touch. Rachel and I were having dinner on the patio, grilled chicken, arugula salad, a bottle of rose between us that was already half gone. She was barefoot, legs curled beneath her in the wicker chair, skin glowing golden in the fading light. Her tank top clung to her ribs, damp with humidity. I remember thinking how beautiful she looked. Natural, soft, the kind of beauty you forget to notice when you see it every day. Then she said it. I've been thinking, she began, her voice casual, like she was about to suggest we buy a new rug. What would you say if we opened things up a little? I blinked. Open what up? Our marriage, she said, looking me straight in the eye. Sexually. I laughed. Genuinely. A short, confused bark. That's funny. She didn't smile. My stomach dropped. You're serious? I asked, setting down my fork. Rachel shrugged, as if we were talking about trying a new brand of toothpaste. It's not about leaving each other. It's about freedom, curiosity, exploration. Exploration. Like we were uncharted territory. Like she hadn't already mapped every inch of me with her mouth and hands. Like 8 years of marriage had somehow left her unsatisfied. I'm not enough for you anymore, I said, trying not to sound defensive, but failing. That's not what I said, she replied quickly. This isn't about you not being enough. It's about me needing something more. And I think it could be good for us. Good for us. Like this was kale. Or therapy. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the lemon slice floating in my water. Where is this coming from? She hesitated. And that hesitation was enough. Who put this idea in your head? I pressed. Because this isn't something you just wake up and decide. Her lips parted, then closed again. Then, quietly, Olivia said it helped her and Ben once. Ben. I blinked again. Ben? Your imaginary friend? No. He was real, she said quickly. They dated for a while. Years ago. It was serious. I scoffed. Olivia is single. She's always been single. What the hell would she know about saving a marriage? Rachel's eyes flashed. Don't do that. She's just trying to help me find clarity. Clarity, I echoed. About fucking other people? She flinched, but didn't look away. You think you're going to sleep with someone else, and then come back to me like it's nothing? Like we're roommates with shared custody over a bed? It's not cheating if we agree to it, she said, softly but firmly. My laugh this time was hollow. That's what this is about, huh? Permission to cheat. With rules and fine print. I haven't done anything. I'm trying to talk to you, like adults, she said. I'm inviting you into this, because I want you to be part of it. And if I say no? She was silent for a long moment. Her wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. Then, she looked at me and said, then I'll feel like a prisoner. I stared at her, At this woman I had loved so hard, I once cried the first time I saw her sleep in my t-shirt. And now she was telling me she felt caged by the life we'd built together. She sipped her wine. A single drop clung to the edge of her lip, catching the light. I'm not asking for forever, she said. Just a little space. Just to feel something again. I wanted to reach across the table and shake her, scream at her, beg her to come back to me, to the us we used to be. But all I could say was, "Have you already picked someone?" Her eyes didn't flinch. No. But she didn't say no, I wouldn't. Just no, not yet. The rest of the night passed in silence. We cleared the plates, loaded the dishwasher. She took a shower. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my reflection in the darkened TV screen. We didn't touch, didn't kiss, just drifted off into sleep on opposite sides of the bed like strangers in a shared hotel room. The next morning, she made coffee like usual. No mention of the conversation. She even kissed me on the cheek on her way out. A peck so sterile it could have been from a coworker. But I wasn't done. That evening, after she went to bed, I poured myself a glass of scotch and sat on the back deck with my phone. The night was humid, and my shirt stuck to my back. I scrolled through Rachel's Instagram, pausing on a picture of her and Olivia from a few weeks ago, laughing over brunch, heads pressed close, eyes gleaming with secrets. I zoomed in on Olivia's hand resting on Rachel's shoulder. Casual, intimate. There was no Ben. There was no open relationship success story. There was just Olivia. And suddenly, a different kind of suspicion bloomed. Not the kind that says your wife wants to sleep with strangers. The kind that whispers, she already has someone in mind. And you know her name. It started slowly, the unraveling. At first, Rachel treated our conversation about the open marriage like it had never happened. She'd hum at the stove, kiss me on the cheek, make plans for the weekend. Business as usual. Except it wasn't. The temperature of our marriage had changed. She'd cracked the window, and now something was drifting in. Cold, new, and quietly dangerous. But what really got to me wasn't her distance. It was how close she was with Olivia. They started texting more, laughing more, meeting for walks that went until after dark. Rachel would come home flushed and glowing, like she'd just stepped out of a sauna. I told myself I was being paranoid. Until one night, I came home late from work and found Rachel on the couch with her legs folded beneath her, sipping wine and giggling at her phone. She didn't hear me come in. I stood in the entryway, watching her face light up like a teenager reading a dirty joke. Then I heard it, the buzz of a voice note playing softly from her phone. Olivia's voice. Sultry, playful. Something about needing to tell you the other half of that story in person. Rachel laughed again. That low, private laugh she used to save for me. I didn't say anything that night. I just sat across from her and ate dinner like nothing was wrong, nodding when she told me about the new yoga instructor she hated and the latest drama in her office. But every time she touched her phone, I felt like something was being carved out of me. It was the following week when things shifted again, subtly, but enough that I noticed. Suddenly, our private moments, the ones I thought were ours alone, became shared material. I'd mentioned something to Rachel in the kitchen, only to hear Olivia reference it later like she'd been standing in the room. Oh, she told me about that? Olivia said one evening when I ran into her at the grocery store. She stood next to me in the produce aisle, holding a bunch of arugula like it was a microphone. You burned the risotto, right? She said it was tragic, but kind of adorable. I smiled politely. Yeah, guess I got distracted. She said it was one of the few times she actually saw you vulnerable. That's rare, huh? I blinked. I mean, she continued, brushing a strand of hair from her cheek, you've always been composed. Predictable, in a dependable kind of way. It's nice to know there's still a little chaos under the hood. She winked. Actually winked. I felt my jaw tighten. Well, next time I'll try to cry while chopping onions. Maybe that'll spice things up for her. Olivia's lips curled. She didn't mean it like that. She shares things. You know how she is. Yeah, I knew how she was. That night, lying in bed next to Rachel as she scrolled Instagram and absently scratched her thigh, I asked, do you ever talk about our sex life with her? She didn't look up. What? Olivia, do you talk to her about our sex life? There was a pause, just long enough to answer my question. Sometimes, she said finally, still not looking at me. Why? Because she knew things. About us. About me. Things I thought were private. Rachel turned her phone face down. She's my best friend. It's not like I'm giving her a play-by-play. You kind of are. Don't be dramatic. I sat up. I'm not being dramatic. I'm asking you if the details of my body, my performance, my intimacy with you are just open season for her amusement. Rachel rolled onto her side. She doesn't judge you. It's not like that. Then what is it like? She didn't answer, and I didn't push. Because honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. The next day, I got a text from Olivia. Olivia, hey, random. Do you know the name of that balsamic you guys used last weekend? Rachel said it was amazing. Innocent. Casual. But then, a second message came 5 minutes later. Olivia, also for the record, she shouldn't talk about you like that. You deserve better. I stared at the screen. It wasn't just what she said, it was the tone. The bait of it. Like she was offering sympathy wrapped in innuendo. I didn't respond. But I didn't delete the message, either. And maybe that was the first mistake. Because after that, I started noticing Olivia differently. I thought about her laugh. The way she crossed her legs when she sat. How her eyes lingered just a little too long during small talk. I remembered a night a few years back, Rachel was out of town, and Olivia had come over to drop something off. She stayed for a beer. We talked about movies. She sat closer than necessary on the couch. Nothing happened. But now I wondered, had she wanted something too? The worst part was how I began looking for her name. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it would be her. I hated myself for it. But I couldn't stop. There was something magnetic in the way she wrote. Just enough flirt to confuse me. Just enough sincerity to disarm me. Like she was chipping away at something I hadn't realized was already fragile. One night, Rachel went to bed early. Headache, she said. I stayed up late, scrolling Instagram, drink in hand. And when the buzz came, her name lighting up my screen, I felt a rush I hadn't felt in years. Olivia, can I tell you something without you judging me? I stared at it. Me, sure. Her typing bubble appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared. Olivia, sometimes I wonder if you were ever really hers. My heart punched against my ribs. Me, what does that mean? Olivia, never mind. Too much wine. Ignore me. I didn't sleep much that night. Because there it was, a line drawn in moonlight. Thin. Shimmering. Crossable. Rachel left on a Wednesday. A week-long business trip to Denver. Some design conference she'd barely mentioned until 2 days before. She tossed the information out like it was unimportant, sliding it between a grocery list and a story about her office printer jamming. I remember blinking. You're going to Denver? She nodded, folding laundry like we weren't talking about her vanishing for 7 days. I leave Wednesday. I'll be back Tuesday night. Just like that. No discussion. No request. Not even a conversation about how it might affect us. She kissed me goodbye at the airport with the kind of kiss you'd give a cousin at a funeral, polite, distracted, obligatory. I stood there, holding her suitcase longer than necessary, while she walked away with nothing but a smile and a carry-on full of silence. The house felt heavier without her. Not quieter, just emptier. Like she'd taken the gravity with her. The first night, I poured myself a drink and sat on the couch watching some mindless documentary, volume too high, just to fill the space. I checked my phone more than I wanted to admit. Nothing. No check-in. No safe landing. Just an Instagram story of her hotel view with a sparkling filter and a caption. Mountains in the distance, just like I like them. Vague. Poetic. Maddening. It wasn't until just after midnight that I got a message, but not from her. Olivia. She's not in Denver. You know that, right? I sat up, my heart slamming against my ribs. What? I typed. Just, don't be stupid. And don't ask me to explain over text. So where is she? Around. If you need company, I'm here. I stared at the screen, rereading her words over and over. The ellipses. The openness. The invitation. I didn't reply. I should have. Should have shut it down, demanded the truth, blocked her number, something definitive. Instead, I left it there. Open. Like a wound waiting to be touched. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Rachel texted me a picture of a hotel breakfast spread, fruit, scrambled eggs, toast, like nothing was wrong. I asked her how the conference was going. She replied, busy, but good. Busy, but good. It sounded like a lie wearing a suit. By the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. I called Olivia. She picked up on the second ring, her voice quiet, like she'd been expecting it. I'm guessing you saw her little mountain post, she said. No hello, no pretense. Where is she? I asked, more calmly than I felt. There was a pause. She's not in Denver, she said softly. She told me, but only because she thought I'd approve. Like I'm her fucking therapist. Where, Olivia? Santa Fe, she said, finally. With someone from her office. The guy who's always helping her with lighting concepts. Name's Darren. I sat back, the word Santa Fe echoing through me like a slap. And you didn't think to tell me sooner? I didn't want to get in the middle, she said, voice tightening. I told her she was making a mistake. I told her she was playing games with someone who loved her, and she laughed. I closed my eyes. She said you'd figure it out eventually. That you're smart, but emotionally checked out. I let the silence linger between us like smoke. Why are you telling me now? I asked. Her voice softened again. Because I heard your voice in my head last night. And because, maybe I wanted you to know you're not crazy. There was a long pause. Then she added, I meant what I said in that text. Which part? That you deserve better. I swallowed hard. And what exactly does better look like? She didn't answer right away. Just breathed. Slow and warm, like her lips were near my ear. I don't think I should say, she whispered. Not over the phone. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, hearing her voice on repeat in my mind. Not Rachel's. Hers. If you need company, I'm here. It wasn't the first time I'd fantasized about Olivia, but it was the first time it felt like she had opened the door. I tried to push the thought away, but I couldn't. I imagined her standing outside, hair damp from the rain, eyes glinting with something dangerous. The way her blouse might cling to her, the way her fingers would curl around a wine glass before wrapping around something else entirely. My phone buzzed again at 2:14 a.m. Olivia. Still awake? Yeah. Can't sleep either. Why not? I keep thinking about you. My body went hot and still. Everything in me tightened. You should stop. I don't want to. There was no sleep after that. Not because of guilt, not yet, but because for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Wanted. It started with rain. The kind that came out of nowhere. Heavy, sudden, loud. I was standing in the kitchen watching it beat against the patio doors like it was trying to get inside. I had half a glass of whiskey in my hand, the other half already warming my stomach. The house was still too quiet. Too Rachel-less. I was just about to turn off the kitchen light and call it a night when there was a knock at the door. 3 soft raps. I froze. I didn't need to check the peephole. I already knew. When I opened the door, Olivia was standing there in the rain like a scene out of a movie she didn't believe in. Her hair was damp and clinging to her collarbone, and her black blouse, low cut, clinging, was soaked just enough to hint at the shape beneath. She had a bottle of wine in one hand and her eyes on me like she'd already played out this moment in her head. Didn't know where else to go, she said, voice barely above the storm. You live 10 minutes away. She smiled. Didn't mean that kind of else. I stepped aside without saying anything, and she walked in slowly, leaving little wet footprints across the tile. She didn't ask if I was alone. Didn't pretend to be here for anything other than what we both knew this was. She dropped her umbrella by the door and handed me the bottle. Cabernet. Not your favorite, but I figured you'd be past caring. I took it from her, eyes lingering on her blouse, the neckline dipping low enough to show a glint of lace, her skin glistening in the light. You're soaked, I said. Do you want me to take it off? It was a joke. Probably. But I didn't laugh. She walked past me, barefoot, leaving the faintest scent of jasmine in the air. The way she moved, unhurried, confident, told me she'd already decided how tonight would end. The only variable was whether I'd have the nerve to let it happen. I thought you weren't getting involved, I said, following her into the living room. I wasn't. But then she lied to you. And then you didn't scream or throw things or get drunk and post about it on Facebook like every other guy I know. I gave her a look. You didn't, she added, sitting down on the couch like she'd done it 100 times before. You just sat in it. The betrayal. The quiet. That does something to a woman, you know. I poured 2 glasses of wine, though I hadn't agreed to anything yet. I was still pretending this was a visit between friends. A rain-soaked coincidence. She took the glass and sipped slowly, never breaking eye contact. Then she said it, the sentence that shattered the last bit of distance between us. You know she's seeing someone else. Let's make her jealous. I froze. Excuse me. She leaned back, legs crossed, her knee brushing mine in that maddeningly deliberate way. Come on, she said. Don't tell me the idea hasn't crossed your mind. She's off in Santa Fe screwing Darren and lying to your face, and you're just sitting here licking your wounds. Don't you want to win for once? This isn't a game. Everything's a game. At least this way, you get something out of it. I stared at her, unsure if I was more furious at her, or at how much I wanted to say yes. You're her best friend. Not anymore, she said flatly. You think I'm going to keep protecting her after what she's doing to you? Please. I tried to hold on to the last thread of denial. You're wrong. No, she said, and her hand landed gently on my chest, fingers splayed. You just don't want to be right. Her touch was warm, grounding. Her palm rested over my heartbeat, and she must have felt the way it quickened under her skin. She's not thinking about you tonight, she whispered. But I am. Olivia, you've been alone long enough. I'm not ready for this. She smiled sadly. Neither am I. Then, slowly, like she was afraid I might flinch, she leaned forward and kissed me. It wasn't hungry. It wasn't soft either. It was curious, honest. The kind of kiss that came from two people who'd spent too long on the edge of something they weren't allowed to name. When we finally pulled apart, her hand was still on my chest, my breath still caught halfway in my throat. Tell me to stop, she said. I should have. Instead, I kissed her back. Harder. The glass of wine hit the table with a soft thud as her fingers tangled in my hair, her body shifting onto my lap. Years of tension melted away in seconds. Her mouth moved like she already knew the shape of mine. Her hips shifted like she was ready to be claimed. Clothes came off slowly. A button here. A tug there. No rush. Just the electric inevitability of two people who had already passed the point of return. When I slid my hands beneath her blouse and found the lace I'd glimpsed earlier, she arched into me like she'd been waiting for this all her life. You're shaking, I whispered. I haven't done this in a long time, she breathed. With someone who actually makes me feel something. We didn't make it to the bedroom. The couch was enough. Later, when she lay beside me, hair messy and skin flushed, she traced lazy circles on my chest with one finger. Don't feel guilty, she said. She started this. But I did. Not for the act itself. Not for the way her breath had caught, or the way she'd whispered my name like a secret. I felt guilty for how right it had felt. And that, more than anything, terrified me. The morning after tasted like guilt and her perfume. I woke before the sun, the kind of half-light that made the house look unfamiliar, like it had shifted while we slept. Olivia's hair was splayed across my chest, her legs still draped over mine, like her body hadn't gotten the memo that we were supposed to regret this. I stared at the ceiling, heart pounding quietly against her cheek. I should have felt ashamed, or disgusted, or something appropriately tragic for the man who'd just slept with his wife's best friend. Instead, all I felt was stillness. Not peace, not quite, but something close. She stirred. Hey, she whispered, voice thick with sleep. You always breathe this hard in the morning, or is that just a side effect of regret? I didn't answer. She shifted her head, chin resting against my shoulder now, eyes searching my face. You're allowed to feel weird. I feel weird. But also, her fingers slid across my chest in lazy circles. It was kind of inevitable, wasn't it? I closed my eyes. There was no use pretending I didn't want her. No point in denying that some part of me had been leaning toward this for weeks. Maybe longer. Olivia had been the slow burn fantasy, the one I buried beneath loyalty, vows, the facade of decency. But last night, the boundary had snapped. Clean. Quiet. And I hadn't even tried to stop it. I shouldn't have let it happen, I said finally, my voice gravel rough. She sat up slightly, propped on her elbow. The sheet slipped down her back, exposing the curve of her shoulder and one bare breast. She made no move to cover it. You think I planned this? She asked. I didn't. I didn't come here for this. I came because you were alone. And because so was I. Her eyes softened. I told myself I wouldn't make a move, that I'd be the good friend. But then you opened the door, and I looked at your face, and, she smiled faintly. I couldn't pretend anymore. I sat up, reaching for my boxers, trying to find distance, physical, emotional, moral, any kind of separation to make this feel less real. You said Rachel was in Santa Fe, with someone else. She was, Olivia said, sitting upright beside me. She still is. Then why do I feel like I'm the one who just ruined everything? She exhaled, reaching for her bra. Because you're still the kind of man who believes in rules. And you're not. She gave me a sad smile. Not anymore. The silence stretched between us, sticky and unspoken. Her bra snapped shut. My guilt snapped open. Do you think she knows? I asked. Olivia raised an eyebrow. You mean, would she know? Or could she tell? Either. She might suspect something's changed, she said. You've been colder. Or maybe just quieter. But no, she doesn't know. She wouldn't imagine me being part of this. I stood, stretching, trying to shake off the fog of what we'd done. She trusted you. She used me. Olivia snapped, and for the first time since she arrived, her voice sharpened. She confided in me about everything. Right down to how bored she was in bed. How she felt like she was fucking a spreadsheet. I flinched. She told me that with a smile. Olivia continued, pulling on her blouse. Like it was a joke. Like I was supposed to laugh with her. About you. I sat back down hard. She told me once, she said, softer now, that she fantasized about cheating. That it made her feel alive. That she wanted to be someone's secret. Olivia turned to face me. Expression unreadable. Well, now you're mine. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to pull her back down onto the couch and forget the world existed. Instead, I asked, so what now? She looked away. I don't know. That answer, raw, unscripted, shook something loose in me. Because I didn't know either. Rachel wasn't back for 3 more days. 3 days of silence, half-slept nights, and Olivia's perfume still lingering on the throw pillow she'd used. She didn't come over again. She didn't even text. And I didn't reach out. But I thought about her. All the time. I'd walk past the living room and see her bare shoulder in the curve of the couch cushion. I'd open the fridge and remember how she laughed when I told her I didn't have oat milk. I'd lie in bed and feel her mouth against my chest like a phantom limb. When Rachel finally came home, I knew the moment I saw her that she hadn't spent the trip in solitude. She was glowing, newly waxed, wearing lipstick I hadn't seen before, carry-on lighter than when she left. And she smelled like cologne that didn't belong to me. She kissed me like we were co-workers. A peck. A pat. Thanks for feeding the cat, sort of affection. How was Denver? I asked, folding my arms across my chest. She looked at me for a split second too long. Fine. Long. But good. Learn anything interesting? She nodded, setting her suitcase down. Yeah, that freedom's not as scary as people make it out to be. And just like that, we were standing in the same room and speaking different languages. She walked past me, into the bedroom. And I stood there, in the kitchen, wondering which of us had strayed further from the truth. Rachel returned to our marriage like someone moving back into a rental, touching things lightly, never quite unpacking. Her suitcase sat at the foot of the bed for 2 days before she bothered to empty it. Her laundry stayed in the hamper. And when she finally did hang up her clothes, I noticed a pair of silk panties that hadn't been there before. Red. She never wore red. We didn't talk about her trip. Not in any real way. She gave me vague answers. Yes, the hotel was nice. No, the conference food wasn't great. Yes, she learned a few new design workflows. But her words were hollow. Recited. Almost rehearsed. Her eyes never settled on mine. She smelled faintly of someone else. Not just cologne. That could have been a hotel soap or a scented elevator. This was more intangible. The way she carried herself. The slight smile when she checked her phone. A posture that suggested she'd been adored recently, and not by me. We had dinner the night she got back. Rotisserie chicken and a salad she didn't touch. She poured herself a glass of wine and swirled it like it might show her a vision if she stared long enough. Then she said it. I think the open arrangement could actually work. I looked up from my plate. You think what? She met my eyes calmly. I mean, you were right to be hesitant. But now that I've had time to think about it, really think, I think it could be good for us. I couldn't decide if she was being cruel or just honest. And you've come to this conclusion after sleeping with Darren? The air in the room thickened. She didn't flinch. I'm not going to pretend something didn't happen, she said. But I also don't want to lie to you. I needed something I wasn't getting. And honestly, it helped. Helped what? She shrugged. Helped me feel alive again. I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so tragically absurd. Do you feel alive right now? She paused. I do. Then maybe you should stay with whoever gave you that feeling. She blinked, like that hadn't occurred to her. Or maybe it had, and she was just hoping I'd be more understanding. That I'd be the bigger man. The kind who hears about his wife's affair and says, as long as you're happy, honey. But I wasn't that man. And she knew it. She set her glass down and leaned back in her chair. Look, she said, I'm not saying this has to be forever. I just think we can redefine what our marriage looks like. Give each other space. Freedom. Be honest about who we are now. You want honesty? I asked. She nodded, like she was bracing herself. I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over Olivia's contact. I didn't open the messages. Just let the name show, bright and bold. Rachel's eyes flicked down. Her face didn't change, but I saw it, the slightest twitch in her lip. A muscle in her jaw that clenched for just a second too long. Does she look happy? I asked quietly. She didn't reply. I saw the way you two talked, I added. The way she always knew more than she should. The way you'd pause before telling me things, like she'd already heard them first. Rachel took a sip of wine. Composed. Careful. She was my best friend, she said. Was. Rachel met my gaze. I haven't heard from her since I got back. I said nothing. She glanced at my phone again. You're sleeping with her. It wasn't a question. It was a diagnosis. I wanted to lie. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. That Olivia and I were just emotionally close, that we hadn't crossed that line. But the words wouldn't come, because we had crossed it. And because her voice, cool, measured, didn't sound wounded. It sounded like she was relieved to confirm what she'd already guessed. Rachel pushed her plate away. This is what happens, she said. We break the rules, and the rules break us. No, I said. You broke the rules. And you followed, she replied. We sat there, staring across the table like adversaries who used to make love before breakfast. That night, we slept in the same bed, but the silence between us was louder than ever. She curled away from me, phone tucked beneath her pillow. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, Olivia's text still glowing in my mind. Does she look happy? She had looked something. Content. Distant. Like she'd made peace with a version of herself I hadn't met yet. I deleted the message. I don't know why. Guilt, maybe. Or maybe because it had served its purpose. But Rachel noticed. She shifted, glancing at the glow of my screen. Who was that? She asked, still facing away. No one. A lie. She didn't press. But the first crack had been made. And we both heard it echo. Rachel asked Olivia over for brunch like nothing had happened. She didn't phrase it as a test. Didn't look at me any differently when she said, Olivia's coming by Sunday morning. Like old times. She said it casually, while flipping through the farmer's market coupons. Like inviting the woman I'd slept with, the woman she suspected, wasn't a tactical move. But I knew what this was. A reckoning. I spent that morning in a fog, half setting the table, while Rachel sliced fruit in the kitchen with clinical precision. She didn't play music. Didn't hum. The silence was surgical. She wore a simple white sundress, no bra, her hair tied loosely like it wasn't intentional, though I knew it was. She was making a statement. Untouched, unbothered, still beautiful. When the doorbell rang, I didn't move. Rachel wiped her hands on a towel and walked past me without a word. She opened the door with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. And there was Olivia. Red lipstick, black tank top, high-waisted jeans that clung like they were stitched on by sin itself. She looked radiant and dangerous, like she hadn't lost a second of sleep since the night we crossed that line. Hi, stranger, she said, stepping inside. Hi, Rachel replied, her voice low and even. I swallowed hard. Hey. We sat at the table like three actors stuck in a scene no one remembered auditioning for. The food was bright and colorful, avocado toast, smoked salmon, berries in a glass bowl. It all looked better than it tasted. Conversation was polite at first. Rachel talked about her trip to Denver. Olivia nodded like she believed it. I sipped coffee like it might shield me from the static in the air. Every time Rachel brushed my arm when passing the syrup, I tensed. Every time Olivia leaned forward to laugh, my chest tightened. And then it happened. Rachel went into the kitchen to grab more napkins. The moment she disappeared behind the wall, Olivia turned to me, her voice low, breath warm across the rim of her mimosa. She doesn't know, she whispered. She doesn't know how good you taste when she's gone. I nearly choked on my coffee. Olivia, I hissed, panic flashing behind my eyes. But she just smiled. Coy, confident. Like she'd tossed a grenade and was already walking away. And then Rachel returned. Napkins in hand. Oblivious. Or so I thought. She sat back down, reached for her fork, and looked at Olivia with a brightness I hadn't seen in weeks. You're glowing. Olivia smiled. It's the berries. Rachel tilted her head. No, really. You seem energized. I've been sleeping better, Olivia replied. A lot better, actually. The tension under the table was suffocating. My fingers dug into my thigh. That's good, Rachel said. Eyes still on her. I've been sleeping worse. Silence. Olivia held her gaze. Maybe you should change who you're sharing your bed with. Rachel didn't blink. Maybe I already have. And just like that, the air dropped 20 degrees. They weren't smiling anymore. They were staring, unflinching, communicating in a language made of old wounds and buried betrayals. I wanted to get up, run, say something stupid to break the spell. But before I could, Rachel turned to me. So, she said, anything you want to share? I froze. The room narrowed around me. The table now an altar where I was being quietly sacrificed. Oh, don't make him confess over eggs. Olivia cut in, swirling her glass. It's not his fault, really. He just needed to feel wanted again. Rachel set down her fork. Slowly. Precisely. And you were the one to provide that, I assume? Olivia's smile was almost tender. Someone had to. Rachel turned to me again. Is it true? She asked. Did you sleep with her? I looked at Olivia. She didn't flinch, didn't soften. She wanted me to say it. So I did. Yes. Rachel inhaled through her nose, as if steadying herself. When I swallowed. The night you were gone. When you were in Santa Fe? She nodded once. So while I was cheating, you cheated back. No, I said. I didn't do it to hurt you. Then why? I hesitated. And Olivia, ever helpful, filled the silence. Because I made him feel seen, she said. Something you stopped doing a long time ago. Rachel stood up. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just calm. Collected. Scary. Get out, she said to Olivia. Olivia blinked. Rachel, you heard me. There was no yelling. No plates thrown. Just those two words, said with the kind of finality you can't come back from. Olivia stood. She looked at me. For a moment, I thought she might say something. But instead, she turned and walked out without a word. Rachel waited until the door closed. Then she turned to me, tears pooling but not falling. You deserve each other, she whispered. And then she walked away. Not out of the house. Not yet. But out of us. And I didn't stop her. Because maybe she was right. Maybe we did. Rachel didn't cry that night. She didn't scream or throw anything. She didn't even look at me. She went upstairs, packed a small overnight bag, and left the house without slamming the door. It was quiet. Surgical. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty mimosa glasses and the crumbs from the toast we didn't eat. The smell of coffee and citrus still lingered like a mockery of the brunch that had just detonated our marriage. I didn't move. Not when the front door clicked shut. Not when the silence folded itself around me like a shroud. I just sat there, the weight of what had happened pressing down on me like gravity had been doubled in this house. Olivia didn't text that night. I kept checking, but nothing came through. I hated myself for caring, for wondering how she felt, for needing anything from her after what she said, because I made him feel seen. She said it like she was proud, like she'd won something. But there were no winners here, just ashes. I finally went to bed around 2 a.m., and the smell of Rachel still clung to her pillow. Her side of the bed was cold. I rolled onto my back and stared at the ceiling like it might offer answers I hadn't earned. The next day, the world pretended it was still intact. My phone buzzed with work emails. The neighbor's dog barked at the mailman. The coffee pot hissed its usual morning song. But the house was different. Empty in a way it hadn't been before. By noon, Rachel still hadn't called. I debated texting her, but I didn't know what I would even say. I'm sorry. For what? Cheating? Or for letting it get this far? Or for not stopping Olivia when I should have? Weeks ago, when the first message came through and I felt that guilty rush in my chest, I didn't text. And then, just before 3 p.m., the explosion finally came. Not from Rachel. From Olivia. She showed up unannounced. Again. This time there was no rain. Just her, in jeans and a gray sweater, hair up, face raw and unpainted. I didn't mean for it to go that way, she said the second I opened the door. I stepped aside without speaking. She walked in like she belonged, again, but with less confidence this time. Like she knew the house didn't want her here anymore. Rachel kicked me out of her life, she said, standing near the window. I texted her. Called. She blocked me. You're surprised? I asked. She turned. You didn't say anything. You just let me burn. I didn't let you say that. I snapped. You lit the match. I panicked. You humiliated her. I told the truth. I laughed. Bitter. No. You told your version of the truth. You made it about you. About what you gave me. She looked wounded, but I didn't stop. You used me, Olivia. Maybe not at first. But somewhere along the way, this wasn't about helping me or saving me. It was about winning. About being chosen. Her voice cracked. I didn't want to win. I wanted you to see me. I did, I said. And maybe that was the problem. We stood in silence. The weight of what we'd done, not just the sex, but the betrayal, the secrecy, the manipulation, it hung in the air like humidity. She walked closer, her voice softer now. I didn't mean to hurt her. But you did. So did you. I nodded. I know. Her eyes glossed over, and for a second, I thought she might cry. But she didn't. She just whispered, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said honestly. "But I don't trust you either." She nodded like she understood. Then she said, "You should know something." "What?" "The night before brunch, Rachel and I argued. I told her I loved you." My stomach dropped. "You what?" "I told her I was in love with you." She called me pathetic. Said I was just lonely and projecting. I sat down on the couch, my head spinning. She asked me if I thought you'd ever actually leave her for me. Olivia said, her voice hollow now. I didn't answer. Jesus. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was tired of pretending. I stared at the floor. That's why she invited you, I said slowly. She knew. She wanted the confrontation. She wanted to humiliate me. No, I said. She wanted to see if I'd choose. And did you? I looked up. I didn't stop you, but I didn't defend you either. She nodded again. Then I guess we're both guilty. She didn't stay long after that. Just enough to let the truth settle between us like sediment in water. When she left, she didn't say goodbye. Just, take care of yourself. And then the house was quiet again. That evening, Rachel returned. No suitcase. Just her keys and her voice, low and even. I talked to a lawyer. I nodded. Okay. He said we could file amicably. No contest. Just papers and signatures. Okay. She looked at me. Really looked at me. And for the first time in days, her eyes softened. I don't hate you, she said. I don't hate you either. But we can't come back from this. No, I said. We can't. She stood there a moment longer, then went upstairs. And I sat on the couch, hands folded, heart quiet. The explosion wasn't loud. It didn't level the house or shatter the walls. It just ended everything. Softly, but completely. Rachel was gone by the following Friday. She left before sunrise. No note. No confrontation. Just drawers emptied, closet half bare, and a silence that now felt permanent. The only thing she left behind was the divorce packet on the kitchen table, neatly clipped, with yellow post-it tabs where I needed to sign. The pen beside it was one I bought for her birthday 5 years ago, engraved with her initials. She didn't take it. She didn't want any part of me touching her anymore. Not even in ink. I didn't sign it that day. Not because I had hope, that was long dead, but because putting my name on that paper felt like admitting we were never going to be who we once were. And I needed at least one more day to pretend otherwise. The house felt colder. Rooms echoed now. Her absence wasn't just visual, it was spatial. Like she'd taken all the tension and energy with her, and left me in a house that no longer remembered what it meant to feel warm. I lived in that silence for a week. Didn't go out. Didn't answer calls. Ate cereal for dinner and whiskey for dessert. The couch became my bedroom. The television played muted reruns of shows we used to watch together, shows that now felt foreign, like they belonged to another couple entirely. And then Olivia knocked. I didn't answer at first. Just watched her through the peephole. She looked thinner, paler. Her eyes were rimmed with the kind of darkness that doesn't come from mascara, but from lack of sleep and too much regret. She held a Tupperware container, like this was still the kind of relationship that could be patched up with pasta. I opened the door slowly. Hey, she said. I brought dinner. I didn't move. She offered a weak smile. It's not poison. I'm not hungry. I figured you weren't, she said, stepping inside anyway. I should have stopped her. I didn't. She placed the container on the counter and turned to face me, her hands tucked into her sleeves like a girl waiting to be scolded. I heard from Rachel, she said. That got my attention. She said she's moving to Portland. New job. New start. I nodded. She told me she needed distance. She told me I was the reason everything fell apart. Were you? I asked. She blinked. Do you think I was? I think we all played our parts. She looked away. There was no flirtation between us now. No teasing. Just two people standing in the ruin of something they didn't mean to burn. I didn't want it to end like this, she said. But it did. Do you hate me? You already asked me that. She nodded, remembering. But things feel different now. They are. She took a breath. I've missed you. You shouldn't. Why not? Because us, it wasn't built on anything solid. It started in shadow. It'll stay there. She stepped closer. But it felt real. It was real, I admitted. But it was also wrong. Her eyes glistened. Do you regret it? I paused. No, I said. But I regret what it cost. She stepped even closer. Her hand brushed my arm. Just a touch. Soft. Testing. I'm not trying to fix everything, she whispered. I just don't want to disappear from your life completely. You think that's possible? I think. Maybe we're both too lonely to let go just yet. I looked at her, really looked. No makeup. No seduction. Just Olivia, stripped down to the raw nerves and mistakes we both wore like skin. And in that moment, I didn't see the woman who had whispered betrayal at brunch. I saw the woman who held me when I felt invisible. The woman who kissed me like she had something to prove. The woman who, for better or worse, had seen me. Stay, I said quietly. Her eyes widened. Are you sure? No, I said honestly. But I don't want to be alone tonight. She stayed. We didn't sleep together. Not that night. We sat on the couch, side by side, knees touching, as the TV played some late-night special neither of us watched. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I rested my cheek against her hair. And in the quiet, we let ourselves exist in the gray. Not lovers. Not enemies. Just haunted company. She slept in my bed. I stayed on the couch. In the morning, she made coffee. We didn't talk about Rachel. We didn't talk about what we were now. The word relationship felt too loaded. Affair too stained. Friend too simple. We were something broken, but still breathing. Over the next few weeks, she came by more often. Sometimes we cooked. Sometimes we just sat in the same room. She never pushed for more. Never reached for my hand unless I offered it first. It was quiet. Tentative. Something like healing, or at least the illusion of it. I eventually signed the divorce papers. No ceremony. No tears. Just ink and a sigh. Olivia was there that night. She held my hand when I folded the packet back into its envelope. Do you feel lighter? She asked. No, I said. But I feel done. She kissed my cheek, soft and sad. We slept together again that night. Not because we were in love. Not yet. But because sometimes, after so much ruin, two people will reach for each other in the dark simply to feel real again. Rachel's message came on a Tuesday. Simple. Direct. Are you happy with her? No preamble. No lead-in. Just that question, sitting on my screen like a stone in my gut. I stared at it for minutes before I even blinked. Olivia was in the shower. Her laughter had echoed off the tile just 10 minutes earlier. Some joke about the shampoo being mine now. I'd smiled. I might have even meant it. But now, all I could see was the woman I married asking if what I'd built from the wreckage of us could ever be called happiness. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I slipped my phone into my pocket and poured a glass of water with hands that felt like they didn't belong to me. The house was quiet, save for the soft rush of water behind the bathroom door. When Olivia emerged, towel wrapped around her body, hair damp, she caught my expression instantly. What is it? She asked, stepping barefoot onto the hardwood. I hesitated, then held out the phone. She read the message. Didn't flinch. She was always going to ask, she said softly. Eventually. She deserves an answer. Do you have one? I didn't. Because happy wasn't a word I'd used in months. It felt foreign in my mouth, like something I used to believe in before it became a goalpost I could never reach. I didn't feel broken anymore. Didn't feel angry. But I wasn't healed either. I was in the in-between. And so was she. Olivia reached for my hand. Tell her the truth, she said. Whatever that is. I nodded. Eventually, when the silence stopped pressing so hard against my chest, I typed back. I think so. Some days, yes. And I meant it. She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. A week passed. Olivia stayed most nights now. Her toothbrush was in the holder. Her jacket on the hook by the door. We settled into a rhythm that was quieter than love, but warmer than loneliness. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes we fought. Usually about nothing. Who forgot to buy coffee? Whether we were hiding from the world or just taking space to breathe. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at me, eyes searching, like she wasn't sure if she was home or just squatting in someone else's heartbreak. One night, I asked her if she ever thought about what we'd done. She didn't answer right away. I do, she said finally. But not the sex. Not the lying. I think about the moment we looked at each other and didn't look away. You regret it? She shook her head. I regret the timing. Not the feeling. Me too. There were nights I still dreamed of Rachel. Not sexual. Just memories. Us laughing in the kitchen, her forehead pressed to mine after too much wine. Her humming in the bathroom while she flossed. The way she used to say baby when she wanted something. Her voice laced with mischief and affection. Those pieces of her hadn't disappeared. They lived in corners now. Sometimes Olivia would find them. In a drawer, a forgotten photo, a recipe scribbled in Rachel's handwriting. She never asked me to throw anything out. She never asked me to forget. And maybe that's why I stayed. Because Olivia didn't pretend what we had was a fairy tale. She knew what it was made of: betrayal, pain, choices no one should have to make. But she didn't try to erase the past. She simply sat beside it, quietly. One evening, while we were on the couch, she turned to me and said, "Do you still think about her?" The question was calm, not accusatory, just curious. I took a breath. Yes. She nodded. I do too. That surprised me. She was my best friend, she said, voice low. Before any of this. Before you. We used to stay up all night talking about the kind of love we wanted. What we wouldn't settle for. What we couldn't survive. And then we both broke our own rules. I don't think she hated you, I said. I think she hated herself. Silence settled over us again. Then she whispered, "Do you love me?" I didn't answer right away. Because love born in ashes doesn't look like the stories. It's messy, slower. It walks with a limp. But it's still real. I think I could, I said. I think I'm learning how. She smiled. Not sad. Not ecstatic. Just honest. That's enough, she said. And for now it was. The truth is, I don't know how this story ends. Rachel is still in Portland. She never replied again. I don't know if she's dating someone new, or if she looks back at our marriage with resentment or nostalgia, or both. But I hope she's okay. Not because I want her back. That door is closed. But because for a long time, we were real. And I don't want our ending to define the love we had before it cracked. Olivia and I are still figuring it out. Some days are easy. Others are filled with ghosts. But we try. We cook. We kiss. We argue about documentaries and which wine to open. We laugh in the middle of tense silences and reach for each other even when we're angry. And that has to mean something. We built something in the rubble. Something fragile. Human. Something that knows where it came from and doesn't run from it. Because love, the second time around, doesn't get to be pure. It just gets to be honest. And maybe that's better.